Hi everybody, welcome back. So today I wanted to have a look at some design space features, basically give you a back to basics tutorial on design space. Hopefully that will make it a lot easier for you to follow on in my videos and to create your own beautiful things. So I have already done a video on design space, so I'm going to try not to cover what I've already done, which is uploading images, uploading your own fonts. What else was in there? There was material settings. So what I'll do, I will link that video in the description so that if you want to watch it, you'll be able to find it easily. So I think one of the most important things, and why a lot of people are having issues with design space at the moment, is that design space now has a live version and a beta. I think it's beta. I'm pretty sure it's beta or beta. I don't know. But anyway, they have, I'm going to say beta. We're going with beta. So there's a live version and a beta version. One of you is going to beat me up for that, but it's fine. So what is beta? Beta apps are newer and more experimental versions of apps that are already released. Early access and beta apps may be less stable than most apps. For example, the app might crash or some features might not work properly. So basically, it is features in an app that are at the experimental stage, so you may run into issues with them. So how do you check what version of the app you are using? So you will click on your hamburger menu and you will go down to settings, and here you can see you have your language, you have your saving for offline, and you have your application experience. I currently have mine on live because I just want it to be a little bit faster. I do usually use the beta version, and honestly I haven't had many issues with it. It does hang slightly, but the whole point of a beta version of any app is to see what works and what doesn't work before they make it go live, so they can pick up any bugs and they can fix it before they make it go live. You've also got some canvas settings where you can change the way that your canvas looks. So you can have the imperial or metric units, you can have your canvas grid, partial grid, no grid. We also have load type, so it shows you your defaults, your load type, and your print then cut page size, and you can also change your notifications. So you can set it to see what notifications you get. Your notifications are up here by the bell. Okay, so on your home page there are a whole bunch of different categories. One of them is editable images. So if you're looking for something quick and easy, you still want it to be personalized, but you don't want to put a lot of effort into it, you would use the editable image. So let me just go into it. How can you tell an editable image from a normal image is that an editable image actually has this text that is outlined in blue. So wherever that is, you can change that. So here the 1983 is outlined in blue. You could change that to whatever year you want. So I actually haven't done an editable image project, but seeing this vintage one, I actually really want to. So I think we will do a video on that at some point. But look how beautiful these are. I mean, and they lived happily ever after, and then it's got the name. So these are just quick and easy. You don't have to put much effort into it. You can just obviously change what you want to and then make it. So if we go back to our home screen, so a lot of the time when you search in projects, it seems limited. So I like to look through the community projects. So let's scroll down. They've made nice little oh, groundhog enthusiast. That's cute. So so they've made little categories here. You have trending on social, you have recent community projects. So every time you make a project and you share it, as long as you've only used elements from Design Space, no uploaded images, no uploaded fonts, you can share that with the community. If you add a description and you add a photo to that, it will then come into the recent community project and somebody else will be able to make it. They have layered paper shadow boxes. Sorry, my internet is a little bit slow. We're gearing up for load shedding, so just bear with me. So the one thing I did want to show you is the community projects. So if we go all the way to the top here, we've got projects, which will be design space projects or Cricut projects. So these are projects that are either made by the contributing artists for Cricut or by Cricut themselves. You've also then got the community projects. So I like to search in here because it's actually amazing to see how extensive the community projects are. I think we've got an amazing community of people that share the most amazing things. How cute is this one? This would actually be perfect for the MDF discs from Craft Buddies. I showed them to you in one of my previous videos, and we could actually do this with the iron-on. That is such a cute and simple project for Valentine's Day. So in the community projects, you obviously have a lot more stuff. There are projects that were originally Cricut projects that they have just edited. So if you are not finding the projects that you want under projects, come and have a look at the community projects. They really are amazing. So let's go onto our project screen. So on the side panel, you have templates. This is if you just want to have a template of something you're making. To be honest, I don't use these often. I just find them not as useful as they could be, I guess. I guess it's just my brain doesn't work that way with designing things. You've also then got projects, which was also on the home screen. So if you click down your categories, you can obviously see all the different projects. If you click on Cricut Access, it shows you the ones that are only available on Access. You click on the community, it shows you those. So there's a whole bunch of different categories where it can narrow down your search for you. You can obviously also put in a search word. You've then got shapes, which will be your basic shapes. I use these very often, and I will show you why. You've got your images, which is obviously all of your images. Again, there are categories, or you can search by name. You've got text, which we all know is text. You have phrases. So if you are wanting some sort of phrase, you don't just want a picture, you can actually look in phrases and it will only show you pictures that have words or phrases in it. You've then got your editable images, your upload, which I'm not going to click on because we don't want to upload. And you've then got your monogram maker. With the monogram maker, you actually have to put your initials in at the top. So I would be LIL. Only once you've done that will you be able to add it to Canvas. You can then choose classic or thematic, and there's obviously different categories in that. So Lil, hey Lil, my goodness. Like, I don't hate my name, but Lil is so odd. Oh, I love that. That's so pretty. So if we had to add that to Canvas, this is a monogram that is ready to make. So now that I have this in, let me show you your layers panel. So on your layers panel, what this is showing you, let's delete our text. What this is showing you is when you send it to the cut screen, how many different mats you're going to have to use. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you see this little downwards arrow, it means that these are either grouped or attached. So these specifically are grouped. If we ungroup them, you see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I click make it, I now have 6 mats that I have to use. What is the difference between grouping and attaching? So let me show you. If I attach it, everything changes to one color. So what attaching does, attaching puts everything together on the same mat. How is this different from, let's say, grouping? So if I group it, what I'm doing is I'm keeping it together on my screen so that when I move it around, all the pieces don't come apart. That's all that grouping does. It does not affect your cut screen. When I attach it, what it is saying is that all of these items need to go to one mat on my cut screen or my make it screen. Where this would be most beneficial is if you have multiple functions, like let's say foiling and then cutting. So you want to foil a card, then you want to write on it, then you want to cut it out. You would attach all of those so that they all go to the same cut screen, and they will all be done on one mat without you having to unload your mat. So what your machine would tell you is insert scoring tool or insert foiling tool, then insert pen, then insert blade, whichever machine you have. And it would do all of those on one mat without you unloading. So why did it change all of our vinyl to one color? All of the functions for the vinyl are cut. So you can't have 3 different colors to cut on one mat. So when you have all of the same functions, let's press undo. When you have all of the same functions, say for instance cut, it will change them to the same color. So let's change this. So in the top corner you have your operation. So depending on what machine you have will depend on what operations are available to you. Some of the machines can foil, cut, score, emboss, deboss, engrave. Others can only draw, score, foil, whatever it is. So let's change this to foil fine, for instance. Now, if I attach these, see what happens. Where I foiled it, it stays that color. Everything else, which is the same function, which is the cut function, that all changes to one color. So that's something that you need to remember. If the functions are the same, you cannot have multiple colors on one cut screen when it is attached. So let's undo that. So I've shown you how to change the operations. So let me show you grouping. We right click and we say group. What that does is on my canvas, it allows me to move it around without all the pieces coming apart. So if I ungroup that and I grab that, I can move that individually. Okay, let's keep that grouped. Then let's move on to our next one, which is combine. So let's insert a circle and we will have it like that. So if we click on combine and we say exclude, what happens is where the pictures overlapped, it will exclude that part, but it will combine the rest of it. So here you can see with the flowers, it excluded the parts that overlapped, but on the outside, it's basically welded it, kept it together. So when I send it to my make it screen, this is now one picture and that is how it will cut. I haven't yet used this function in a project, but I think even just from seeing it like this, I think I'm definitely going to. So next on our combine screen, we have intersect. So as you can see, I got a lovely little message here. To intersect 2 or more selected layers, at least a portion of all must overlap. Try moving 1 or more layers, then try again. Okay, so let's insert an, oh goodness, we forgot to press back. Let's insert another circle and let's do it like that. And let's say combine, intersect. So you see what happened, only where the layers were overlapping, that's what gets left behind. So if we click backwards, you can see, let's do it again. Only what was overlapping gets left behind. Everything else gets taken out. The next thing we have is subtract. And what that does is the second image that was overlapping, it subtracts that from the first image. So it's kind of like slice, but it's a lot easier because you don't get left with your slice result. You just get left with the end piece basically. So for instance, if I say slice, I would have to then go and move all of that out, and then I would be left with it. This I would all delete. So it's just a shortcut basically. Let's back. Okay, then the last one is weld. Welding takes two objects and makes it one. The thing about weld is that you cannot undo weld. Once it's welded, it's done. So the only time I like to use weld is when I know that I'm not going to be changing my project. It is what it is. I'm going to keep it that way, and I don't want to make any changes going forward. So usually if I share a project that I want people to be able to edit it to what they want, I won't weld it. Oopsie, what I will do is I will say combine, unite. So the thing with uniting is that it's welding, but you can undo unite. So it's like a temporary weld. So the next thing we're going to talk about is slicing. So a lot of people find an image and it's not exactly what they want it to be, so they want to change that image. And they will grab it like this and they'll say, oh no, but my slice is grayed out, I can't click on it. So the reason for that, and it's a very important thing to remember, is that you can only slice 2 layers at a time, nothing more. So what you would need to do for something like this is you would have to select each piece individually with the circle. So you can see now on my side panel, I've selected the circle and the LRL, and now my slice is able to be used. If I click on them, we can then slice that. I can then take my slice result and move on to my next section of my image. If I click slice, I can then slice that out, and I can just repeat this process. So obviously if I wanted to, I could delete the slice results because of course we don't need them, and I could just repeat this process over and over with each layer. So say for instance you had a, as you can see I'm pulling everything apart, but say for instance you had a rainbow. You would have to slice that rainbow, say it had 5 colors, you would have to slice that 5 times to be able to cut off a section completely. So very important to remember is that your slice feature only works on 2 parts. So let's insert another one. There we are. What is the difference between attach and flatten? So with making stickers, any print and cut project, you would need to flatten it. What flattening does is it takes an image that has multiple layers and it makes it into one layer. That is why once something is flattened, you can only print and cut it. You cannot cut it out, with all the individual different colors, because you've basically taken 5 pieces of Play-Doh, you've squished it, and you've made it into one flat piece. You now can't separate those colors. Obviously, you've got the unflatten tool. You can do that, but on your cut screen. So what attaching does, again, we've been through it, but what attaching does is it's taking multiple functions and it's sending it to one mat. So that is the difference. So if, say for instance, you were doing print and cut, what you would do, and this is something you should probably write down, you would add in a square. So this is where I said to you I use shapes often. So you've got this lovely feature called a guard. So this guard will not go to your mat and it will not be cut. So you can change this to 16.54. So you unlock this, unlock it. So you change it 16.54 by 25.22. This is the optimal size for print and cut. So what you could do is you would insert all of the images you want. Okay, you would flatten each one individually. That is important. This one can't be flattened. Okay, so let's just do the two. You've got an idea of what I'm saying. So you would flatten each one individually. You don't want to flatten them together. You would arrange it inside of your box. You can then move your box and attach those. So when we click on Make It, you now have your optimal sizing for print and cut, and it stays where you put it on the mat, on your canvas. So basically attaching just makes sure that exactly how you had it on your Make It screen is how, on your canvas is how it will go to your Make It screen. So attach is very good for keeping things together and for combining multiple functions on one mat. Flatten is only for print and cut. So there's been a couple of people that have tried to make stationery labels, and they've selected everything and then they've said flatten. Now, what happens with that is on the side you can see your print and cut image has gone from two separate images to one complete image. Many issues can arise with this because either it can cut around the entire outside, or if the pictures are overlapping anywhere, it will not cut them out properly. So it's better to have multiple print and cut images that you've attached rather than flattening all of your images into one. I think I have covered most of the basics. I'll show you color syncing. So let's add these to the canvas. So as you can see, we have multiple colors here. Let's say, for instance, I only had red, green, black, and yellow. Red, green, black, yellow, and something else. So if we click on the colors, very often you get different shades. So you'll have like 3 pinks and it becomes complicated. So if you click on your color sync, what you can do is you can actually drag layers. Oopsie, we just made it yellow. We didn't want it yellow, we wanted it red. So we can actually drag it to the color that we want it to match. And in this way, it becomes a lot easier to manage your colors. So that's a great way of matching up your colors. When we go to the Make It screen, we now have 6 mats instead of what would have been 8 mats. So I think our text, I did cover most of this in my first video, and I have covered a lot of it in other videos. So I will just show you the curve tool. The curve tool only works with single lines. It does not work with multiple lines. So the minute you press enter, the minute you add in multiple lines, your curve function will not work. So if we say, oopsie, text curve, now you can see it's grayed out, you can't use it. So it only works with single layers. If you wanted to have something multiple layer that had a curve to it, you would have to add in line by line and curve each line. You've got your alignment, so you can have left, center, right, top, center, bottom, wrap on and wrap off. You've also got your line spacing, which will increase or decrease your space between your words. And you've also got your letter spacing. I find letter spacing really good for those curly fonts where you kind of want it to touch each other or wrap into each other. So something to note, if you have a look at this word curve, this will cut individually. So where the U ends inside of the R, it will cut, which you can't see because it's at the back. and where the R overlaps into the U, it will cut. So one way to stop that from happening is to actually weld your text. Now you can see it will cut only around it. It will not cut through the letters. So another handy tool that I use is offset. An offset is great if you want to make a stencil. It works great for a stencil. What you could do is you could apply the offset, and then you could actually slice that, and you now have a stencil. A stencil! Another thing that offset is great for, and I've shown this in previous videos, is if you have a very thin font, you can add a very small offset of about 0.15 to 0.018, and instead of cutting your original text, you would cut the offset. That's just if you have a very thin font and your machine's having problems cutting it. You can also do this with very thin designs, wispy flowers, line art. It just gives it a little bit of thickness. Oopsie, we deleted the wrong one. To make it easier for you to work with. Another thing is your flip function. This is great for pictures more than text, I think. So you can obviously flip it, or you can flip it upside down if you wanted to. And then something else that I use very often is the align tool. So you can align center horizontally and align center vertically. You can obviously align however you want to. So I also just wanted to show you something pretty cool that you could use your offset for. So you could have that running through, you could add your offset. That's a bit small. That's a bit big. That's good. So you can apply your offset, remove it, slice, delete this out, and if we combine weld, that's now one picture that would cut on one mat. Obviously you don't have to weld it. You could have this as pink and that as a different color. So that's a cool feature that you can use to create. I'm not sure what these are called, but it's a cool feature. So I think I have touched on most of the stuff. There's just one more thing. I think I keep saying that. There's just one more thing. Just one more thing. It's like that guy, story time. I don't know if you've seen that TikTok video where he's just wait, just one moment. Let me tell you something. Yeah, I feel like him. So let me show you the contour function. So my whole point of this video is to obviously help you along and to show you that you're not limited by what is on Design Space. You're only limited by your imagination. And I think that's a very important part of creating. Say for instance now, I don't like something about this image. I can change it so that it's something that I do like. So there's multiple ways that I can do that. I could remove, so I do this often. I put in multiple circles, because circles are just kind of easier to work with. So I could go one by one and slice, and then delete, slice, and then delete. now have an empty fishbowl that I can do what I please with. So if I click on the contour tool, what contouring does, so say now for instance, I want this to not be a fishbowl, I want this to be a Zulu pot, and I want to put a beautiful design on the outside. So what I could do is I could click on the contour. So I like to keep it in the top corner. What you can also do is you can resize that so it's nice and easy to see. And I want the middle of the bowl to now be black like the rest. If I click on certain parts, as you can see, it changes it. So this is a great way to either change your design or to make layers. So let me show you how we would do layers. So we would duplicate it, and I now want the top of the pot to be different colors to the bottom. So we would say contour, and this time we're going to remove everything but the piece that I want, which is the top. We will then change this to red. And as you can see, I now have a layered image. It's too small for me to see. Okay, I can't get it perfect, but obviously once it's cut, I would be able to move it perfectly. You can now see I've taken a single layer image with a fish, and I've now made it a pot, or a, whatever you want to call it, with 2 layers. So when I send it to my make it screen, I've now got 2 layers instead of 1 fishbowl with a fish. So I do like to play with the contour feature a lot. So obviously I didn't touch on everything in this, and I will definitely do more design space ticks and trips. My goodness, I am currently racing against load shedding, so I'm obviously not able to touch on everything, and there will be people with questions. But I hope that if you're somebody who's new to the Cricut world, this helped you to feel a little bit more comfortable with design space. I think the most important thing is just play with things. Like I said, the only limit is your imagination. And I honestly think that 90% of the time with anything in life, our greatest limitation is ourselves. We're always so scared of failing that we don't even try, or we don't even get going with it. And I feel like the worst thing that could happen, especially with crafts, the worst thing that could happen if you try is that you don't get it right and you fail. And if that happens, I don't think that it's a loss. I like to say you either win or you learn. Either way, you gain something. So the not backspace, the undo button, that's your best friend. If you do something and you don't like the result, press undo. So take it slow, give yourself grace, give yourself space to make mistakes. I think that mistakes help us grow. And like I said, the worst that's going to happen is that you're going to completely hate it, but you're going to learn something from it. So don't feel limited. Have loads of fun with design space, and I cannot wait to see what you make. If you have any specific design space questions, please do ask them in the comments. I do read the comments. I don't always have time to respond to them, but I do always read them, and I will take them into account for future videos. A lot of my videos have actually been governed by questions that people have asked. I wanted to show them more in-depth answers to their questions. So please don't think that your opinions or your suggestions or your questions aren't heard, because they are, and they are so valued. So keep an eye out. I've got some really fun videos coming up. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. You are the first to hear. We will be having a machine giveaway on the YouTube channel as well as some other channels, but the announcement will be made here. So please share this video, get people to subscribe to the channel so that they can also join in and hopefully win themselves a machine. Thank you so much for watching.